What up? This is Myron, and you are listening to the Rye Bread and Mustard, the Mariners podcast that down on the docks on the other side of the track. 5-star dive bar Mariners podcast that you are listening wherever the hell you want to get it. Listen, we're not going to judge as long as you're liking, subscribing, and all that good shit. If you're checking us out live right now on YouTube, again, all your questions, concerns, and complaints are welcomed. And listen, we got some complaints from my last show, and I'll get to those. If you're out there hating and didn't think we were going to get any stage time here, you were going to get it. Don't worry. We'll get your guests on here. Doesn't always need to be peaches and cream, right, Anno?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. What was wrong?
It is what it is. It is. Oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, shit. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. No complaints about you.
Big surprise.
Anyways, yeah, big surprise. The feedback is always correct. Listen, Mariners drop another road series, starting to be a bit of a concern. They fought back here in Game 3, but that's going to be a concern going forward. It's starting to become one a bit. It's not an overreaction. It's just an observation. They got to play better on the road. They're 5 games under 500. The last 3 seasons, they've finished over 500. I think 5 games last year, 7 games in 2022, and 7 games in 2021. If you want to go back to 2020 during the COVID season, we were 5 games under 500 on the road. I don't even know what was road and away back then, but yeah, it's just something that we're not really accustomed to seeing with this group. And then we're going to take a look at we're at the halfway point. All right, or actually, it's if you're getting this on Monday, it's after Monday's game. Well, we're jumping the gun here. We're gonna take a look at what's happened here in the first half and look at our article and use our own opinions on what we want to see or what we possibly are afraid of here in the second half. Ready to do this, Hanno?
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, though, it is, as a Mariner fan, I am worried. We lost 40% of our lead already in this 2 series on the road. That's concerning.
Yeah, and you know what? They're talking about it here on Twitter, and let's get into all of that right after this.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdom.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdom.
Bring that up. Look, you are right, Yano. The evaporation from the 10-game lead is now down to 6. You were just talking about it. I'll pull it right up here on the Twitter. Let's see what Ryan Divis said. You knew they wouldn't completely crater. Of course, we knew that Texas and Houston definitely have a run in it. It will be interesting to see how they'll piece together their pitching in the next few weeks. This is who wrote this? Chandler Rome. This is pretty much what a lot of Mariners fans out there are saying. The Astros won 8-1. They're 38-40, 2 games under 500. Houston hands the Orioles their second 3-game sweep since Adley Rutschman made his major league debut in 2022. The Astros have won 5 in a row and 7 out of 5. When you open up for a big lead, we talked about this on last episode I talked to you, and we talked about this on Wake and Bake. When you jump out to early lead right now, you've involuntarily signed up for the collapse. The fear of the collapse is always going to be right around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And as being a Mariner fan, we're just used to being let down. But I'll bring it back to a little bit more reassuring news. I listened to an interview last week. One of the shows had Jason Stark on. You remember him from ESPN? I think he
Yeah.
writes for The Athletic now. And he mentioned that, I hope I get this right, in the wild card era, no team that has had a 10-game lead in June has missed the playoffs. So that's very good news, but also kind of makes me think if any team could do it, it could be our Seattle Mariners.
I mean, if let's just say I'm just say something terrible. Let's just say the pitching doesn't stay as healthy as it has, and you don't make the moves that maybe you don't want to make. Maybe the price is too high, and I could see that happening. Also, you got the last two World Series champions on your ass.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about so many times with this big trade deadline coming up, which we mentioned is kind of the next key spot in this season, that we both said that we assume and expect Houston, Texas to make a move. So that should be really interesting to see how that changed things, because it really is a way for teams to change their direction of their season by adding players.
Yeah, and look, the guys that they're getting back, Scherzer, and is DeGrom coming back at some point too?
Yeah, I believe so. Did you know that Scherzer gave up side note, gave up a home run to Clase down in Tacoma when he was on his rehab assignment? So, I mean, that's good news for Mariner fans. We got to bring up Clase again.
Or good news. Hey, who wants to trade for Class A? Hit a home run off Scherzer. Come on.
Yeah.
CJ was just talking about that on the last episode. Thinking Class A is like a guy that he thinks that we can move and get something. I agree. I think all those guys can go for the offense that we need, for the pitching that we have in this window. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for that. I'm ready to take. I'm ready to mortgage a bit of the future for right now. That's just where I'm at. That we'll talk about that a little bit later or more on another show. Let's just get really quickly into this series. Let's get in and let's get out. Mariners, frustrating loss on Friday, right? You have an excellent start by Kirby. At one point, 16 batters in a row, gives up the two cookies back to back. And when that happens, you'd expect your team to, pick you back up. Mariners looked like they were going to do that in the 8th inning, get first and third, top of the lineup coming up, and a whole lot of not surprised.
Yeah, so unfortunate. I mean, Flowers and Goldie were talking about how just incredible Kirby was just cruising. And like you mentioned, not back-to-back pitch or hitters, back-to-back pitches taking yard. I mean, so unfortunate. But I mean, Kirby, you could see the disgust on his face, and unfortunately, the Mariners, shit the bed. They did not help him out at all.
No, and the disgust on his face, I know it's disgust for himself, but also probably a little bit of disgust in there, going like, "Oh fuck, I'm gonna get screwed here."
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I was a little bit dumbfounded about the sequence of pitching in that time. He was really, as they talked about the whole game, using his off-speed stuff because he knew how aggressive they were. But from what I saw, it looked like it was a couple fastballs, and to go back-to-back pitches maybe in that second at bat, thinking they could get it over on George Bell, but he was ready for it, and he just tomahawked that baby up, out, and see you later.
Yeah. Two guys going back-to-back that maybe might be available from the Marlins too. We talked a bit about that. Me and CJ did on Thursday, on Thursday's episode. Bell, that was the guy I was asking for him in between 2022 and before the 2023 offseason. I was all about Bell. De La Cruz, who he reminds me a lot of? Teo Hernandez. Got the home runs, got the RBIs, got the strikeouts, but hey, we're not looking for more strikeouts, right? That's what this team is all about in 2024, not striking out. But De La Cruz, what do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow the Marlins too much, but yeah, he had a pretty good series. I could see how he kind of looks like him in a way too. Maybe it's the way he stands in the box, but yeah, definitely, I can see why you think him and Teo look similar to each other.
It just similar. I want to just to be clear, similar type of player. Uh, he you look at the lines right here. 14 home runs, 35 RBIs. All right, he doesn't got the RBIs like him, but OPS is always going to be between 7 and 8. The guy though is a fucking strikeout machine. But wouldn't mind entertaining the thought of this guy. I mean, he's on pace to hit just about 30 home runs. Again, too, I don't know too much about him as just like you do, but I'm looking at who the Marlins had available. Like we talked about in last episode, it was him. It was obviously people want to talk about Jazz, Bell, and the closer that we saw 2 times in this series. Not Travis Scott, Tanner Scott, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they had a good series against the Mariners, and like they definitely are a team that's going to be selling. They got no shot for getting back in it, but yeah, it could be players. I mean, after like you said, Bell a couple of years ago, yeah, I would have been up for it then. Not as much now, but I mean, if they're the only guys that are on the block, you might have to do something. But to be honest, they don't really excite me at all.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I would take somebody from this team if we got them, but you're right. They don't have that Vladdy Guerrero Jr. Feel to him. They don't have what's his name from that we really want, Luis Roberts Jr. This would be definitely like a back tier move to the Marlins. I mean, they already started selling off earlier this year. They made the big move with San Diego.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting. I mean, they just seem to me, besides not wanting them that much, I don't know if they really fit. But I mean, out of all of them, yeah, it'd be nice to have Tanner. Maybe a bullpen piece. We need that desperately. I know we got some good news with Santos throwing some BP this week and being a little bit closer, but we need some bullpen help. So I could see if I had to rank him, I'd probably rank him Tanner, De La Cruz, and Bell of my wish list for that team personally.
Yeah, and I don't think Jazz is going anywhere, and if he does, he's going to cost too much. I feel like.
Yeah, I forgot about him. Good player.
Electric player. But I think you're going to be overpaying for maybe what you're going to get back from him. But going into the second game, I mean, Ryan Bliss going from this first game 3 for 3. The end of the lineup was great, pretty good all this series. Top of lineup, not so much. But right away in game 2, you were getting the answers that you were asking, right? You're like, come on, I know you and I were texting the night before, and I was going, look how many players the Mariners have with batting averages below 210 and between 210 and 224. It was abysmal. I know things changed, but then things kind of went back to the way they were, and here we are. But I would say Ryan Bliss, game 1, game 2, couldn't have been at a better time, probably personally, for him to get hot.
Yeah, definitely going to make the decision with Polanco, winding up his rehab assignment. Very, very much more difficult for the front office on who the 2 or 3 players that could be decided upon on who goes down or released. Yeah, he made a case for himself this weekend.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people were out there going like, why do we have Locklear if we're not going to play him? He should be down there getting reps. I agree. I know that they kept Locklear. He had a fun, interesting first week. But right now, I think if you had to choose between Locklear and Bliss, I feel like right now Bliss can help the team out win. Excuse me, help the team win right now the way the team is more than Locklear can. Because I'm not playing Locklear over Ty France. You got third base pretty much covered. Ryan Bliss, because he can do things defensively and with his feet, he also can be a defensive replacement at the end of the game, and he's swinging a good bat. I feel like it's easier for him to get in the lineup right now. Even so, maybe when Polanco comes back, we'll see. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I like Locklear. I mean, I really like him to be able to pinch hit, or even more than that, pinch run, or like he was this weekend for Ty France, or putting somebody in there then for him to replace Ty France. I do like him, so that's kind of tough, but it's a hard decision. Bliss looks really good. I'm not as high on Ty France right now, but that could change. I just really like Locklear's athleticism over at first base. Has there been any talk or the name of Robles thrown out there? Maybe he could get DFA'd or anything. I know he's helped out a little bit, but he's another guy that could be a candidate I could think of.
Yeah, you're right, and especially with the way Don Canzone seems like he's turning things back around as well. So yeah, who is going to be the odd man out here? I know with Locklear, it's more about getting him more reps. I also feel like if Bliss does get sent down, I think that's going to be because you're going to see him on the bench more, not getting those at bats, and then maybe not getting those results from coming off of the bench. But I feel like if you had to make a decision, I would keep Bliss up here right now. But again, when you bring that Victor Robles scenario in here, maybe you both of them stay for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on everything you said, and each guy, Bliss or Locklear, is definitely a candidate to get more playing time, and it'll be beneficial for them to get at bats down in Tacoma. And I agree with you that Bliss, he is a game changer for the Mariners on the base pass. He's done pretty good at defense, and I mean, he's shown that he's aggressive and can handle the pitching right now. So yeah, it's going to be a tough decision. I just thought maybe Robles might be a wild card out there. He's been a good defensive replacement and a guy with good speed, and I like speed. So I mean, it's going to be a tough decision. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Polanco's ready to go. Good to see that he's had success down in Tacoma. I heard another interview this week where he wasn't a big fan of the offensive coordinator Brown, so that might be a good thing for him. There's all kinds of scenarios that I'm intrigued to see how he looks like when he comes back. He's been very successful in Tacoma with a couple home runs that I saw, so hopefully he gets back up and starts playing like to the back of his baseball card and really helps this team out because we're going to need him.
And hopefully he can stay healthy.
Yeah,
these guys that come back from these injuries, yeah, especially with the soft tissue shit, it just really doesn't go away. But yeah, game 2, just what the doctor, just what Grant Norma needed. She was just so beside herself about Friday night's game. Saturday, quick turnaround. Mariners put 9 up, played at. We saw a player on another team actually pitch against the Mariners.
Say that again.
How fucking rare is that? Oh, I said in this game, I want to say the biggest footnote or biggest note about this or historic note, we got to see a position player actually pitch against the Mariners.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good feeling. It was like the feeling when we were kids and we saw Steve Scheffler go in at the end of a basketball game. I mean, what a good feeling to have the M's face a position player. I mean, especially after that first game. Yeah, it's just a good sign.
It was amazing. And I felt bad. There was a few guys up there. Well, pretty much everybody on the Mariners needs a knock, right, to pad their stats, and they couldn't do much against him. One hit, Cal Raleigh got a hit. I believe everybody else got out, and I was like, oh man. But again, Bliss in this game, put together back-to-back 3-hit games. Let's forget Dom Canzone, 4 hits. That bomb he hit, you know what was so great about that bomb, Hanno? I don't know if you watched it when it went to the upper deck. That guy who was standing in the tunnel wanted nothing to do with that fucking missile that he hit up there.
Yeah, I saw the highlight, and he made a decision that he'll pass, no doubt.
He said no. I don't know if I still have my dental insurance. It was like, fuck this. And then I did see somebody ran and picked it up, smart person. But also, you're seeing another brilliant performance from Logan. The big concern 9, I believe he got the first 3 innings he got out of there in 20 pitches. I know that feels good as a pitcher. He looks up at the board after 4 innings, he gets a 6-0 lead, and he did want every pitch when they have a lead like that. Pitch like you're usually for the Mariners, not in any run support, running away from the ghost of Felix Hernandez's run support.
Yeah, absolutely. He was on the right side of it this game. I mean, he was incredible. I mean, he's really, I feel like, taking that next step forward, really perfected his other arsenal pitches. I mean, he was incredible that game.
Yeah, and something I want to talk about with Logan is I know this isn't a big concern, but or maybe let's say concern. Maybe this isn't a big topic that everybody really wants to talk, because I feel like all Mariners, the eye on the prize now is getting deep into the playoffs, getting to the World Series, which I like. But let's talk about him on the All-Star team. I feel like he has a really good chance, especially if he just goes out and throws a couple more decent starts or one more decent start. Not what he's doing here, but just doesn't go out there and beat all up. There's a strong case for him finally making an All-Star team.
Yeah, I mean, lately he's looked great, like I mentioned. It's weird the Mariners so far ahead in first place. There's really no really standout position players I can think of that'll be picked or voted in by the fans. It looks like, yeah, and so it's going to go to the pitching, and I got to agree with you. Castillo, a losing record. I don't see him going. Kirby, he has his ups and downs. But Logan, yeah, he's looked great. I mean, they came out, and I saw a stat where he's the only pitcher in the AL to rank inside the top 10 in each of the following pitching categories. He's first innings pitched, first in WHIP, fourth in opponent average at 196, and 8th in strikeouts with 99, and his ERA is 7th with a 2.71 ERA. So, yeah, he's had a really nice start to the first half.
Yeah, it's just steady shit. Let's just look at his last 7 games. ERA 2.27. Last 15 games 2.81. Last 30 games, so we're going back into last year, 2.7. He's rock-like. He's just like Castillo is billed to be. We're like, what you're getting from him. And just imagine if the Mariners actually hit with him. There was that stretch. We talked about it, where Logan had 8 starts in a row where while he was in the game, not the entire game he played, but while he was in the game, only half a run in 8 starts. So 2 months of pitching. So imagine what his record would be. And he's still over 500, 5-4.
Yeah, I know. That's the funny thing about all these win losses by this staff. I mean, they don't jump out at you, but they've been the best part of your team. And we have this, 6, 7, 8 games above 500 now with a 6-game lead. I mean, you think it would be a lot more, but it isn't. So, I mean, the Mariners have come back in quite a few games, and it's just weird how this first half has been.
Yeah, you're correct. We do have a 6-game lead that has evaporated, but we also knew that the 10-game lead wasn't going to be there all year. They're 10 games actually over 500 right now. 5 for the last 5, or 5 and 5 in their last 10. If they still play 500 ball, still think they'll get around 8 87 wins. We'll get into all that. Let's get into game 3 that just happened today. Hey, listen, wasn't a great day for Miller. But the Mariners, I will say the glass half full. The Mariners down 6-0, chipped away throughout the game. Actually had a chance there in the ninth. Julio hits that liner, not as hard as I thought it was off the bat, but nice play, not out of this world play, but just the right time play by Otto over there at second base. That drops through, tie game. You never know what's going to happen, right? But Mariners chipped away throughout that game. I like the way in the bullpen. Got to hand it to him. Kept him in that game.
Yeah, sure did. I mean, I agree with all that. I'm right. That hit by Julio at the end, that was not as glamorous as the announcers made it sound. It was not great contact and pretty routine play. But still an athletic play by the second baseman. Yeah, Miller, he just didn't have his stuff today. And if he doesn't have his secondary pitches, and they mentioned it so much during the broadcast against an aggressive team that hunts the fastball, and he's not locating, it's going to be a tough day for him. And, giving up that bomb early kind of set the tone for that game for him, and he wasn't able to cover. But Mariners fought back, like you mentioned, and had some chances, but just couldn't come through. It was a dismal series, in my opinion, to kick a series victory against those who have not had a good year.
No, exactly. And again, I just credit them for not laying down and trying, doing what they should. Down 6-0 early is always tough. But yeah, super disappointing in this series. And at the top of the lineup in this game, also not very good. We 0 for 5. that one really hurt for Julio. You're 0 for 4. You get up in that situation, and then that happens, and you end up with a 0 for 5. But between Rojas and Demo, I know Demo got that single there. Still, you're only getting 2 hits from the top 3 batters in your lineup. It was just a rough series all around. Cal Raleigh really scuffling right now, but we know he's clutch, and even in this game too, when he's not hitting well, gets that walk there in the ninth. It didn't turn into anything, but still, you still see the leadership and the baseball smarts out of him. As the Mariners drop this series, they've dropped the last series here on the road. They're on the verge of another losing road trip. We talked about it, the road woes. 5 games under 500, 15 games over 500 at T-Mobile Park. Very, very different line of dialogue than we're used to saying with this particular group of Mariners.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a big discrepancy between home and road, like you mentioned, and it's something that they're going to have to try to get better at. Obviously, they've on the road pitching wise, and we know how they hit. It's kind of been the same thing, but you mentioned tough day with Julio. It was nice to see, from my perspective, him get a full day off, his first full day off this year, to kind of reset. So hopefully that helps him get going again, a little rest, and they can keep charging. They're getting guys back healthy, like you mentioned, with Polanco coming back, and nice surprises by the rookies that have contributed. And even though Canzone's hot and cold, he had a nice series. And it'll be interesting to see how they attack the coming up, who have not had their typical type of year and that are under 500 right now.
Yeah, and today's that's going to be played later today. If you're listening to this on the podcast side or checking this episode out tomorrow, we're at the halfway point, so we're going to spend the rest of this episode kind of talking about what we've seen here in the first half. Not too much, but what we hopefully we could see in the second half. Also, I believe Jude and Divish kind of did a joint piece together about the halfway point, take a little peek at that. Well, I do see people's messages here. We're gonna get to them. We'll probably save those till the end of the episode. Go out on a high note. So stick around and we'll bring those up. But yeah, we'll get right into what we're the first half and like kind of prophesizing what's going to happen here in the second half right after this. We got 4-time Gold Glove winner, 3-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, and look, the reason why I bleached my hair back in the 2000s. What's up, Brett?
I love it. I love it. You had the hair, huh?
That was like my college look.
That was my thing. My kids still tease me about it. And they said, "Dad, why don't you go bleach your hair?" I said, "Dad's getting a little old for that." I said, "That was just a phase I went through. It was kind of a shtick." And I used to tell people when I bleach my hair, I'd say the city expects it. So just don't worry about it. Get out of my way. Every 3 weeks, I had my routine.
Did you get your hair done by somebody here?
I did. No, I did. I had a young lady who would come to the ballpark, actually, and I had a barber chair. It was a hair bleaching station. And there was a couple guys on the Mariners that would get it done too. But every 3 weeks, she would come in. We had a little office space off the clubhouse, and I'd get it done. So that was fun. That brings back pretty cool memories.
So we're right at the halfway point. I know last year, I can't remember exactly where we were at the halfway point. It was probably somewhere around 500, but I do remember when we did that episode after the first 100 games, and we were 50 and 50. Do you remember that, Hanno?
Yeah, and just begging for the team to get off to a hotter start, and it's something that they've, changed this year, and it was great to see. Yeah,
last year we were like, "Hey, can you figure out if you're going to be a buyer or seller?" They're stuck there in that gray area. You see Seawald go, you get back these returns with Canzone, Rojas, and Bliss. Now we're enjoying that a bit, but yeah, right now you're give or take 10 games over 500 after halfway through the season. You're either going to be 9 games or you're going to be 11 games if we got to get technical here. That we have no problem with. Well, I think the biggest concern is, and it's not a big surprise here, and it's been the topic of the season, what the hell is going on with the hitting? They never can find their footing. And in fact, they are on pace to shatter, I think, the whiff rate. I think that is what's happening. Let me just pull this up for some clarity here. But yeah, so far, like right here in this article, let's see whose article this is. Yes, this is the one that we have up, which is a good read if you got a Seattle Times subscription, or you can sign up for a trial. It's Jude and Divish. 3 lingering questions that the Mariners face in the second half of the season. Right off the bat, it's like, are they going to be able to hold on to this? And both of these writers agree they will. And Divish pulls out a point here that's really good about padding this lead or just this record that we got this year. If they go 500, they're gonna they'd finish with 86 wins. So really, in the second half here in the next 81 or 82 games, whatever we got left, the Mariners really need to just if they can play like 3 to 5 games over 500, I think you're going to lock down this AL West. But like we just talked about earlier, this road record and not playing great on the road, that makes catching Cleveland or New York, probably Cleveland, whoever's in the Central, pretty important, especially when you don't play well on the road. You want those games at home with your pitching and where even your hitting's better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
more timely.
The first half has been the pitching, like we always talk about, is carried us. The hitting really needs to come around to help these guys out. To me, it starts with Julio Rodriguez. He's had a decent start to the first half, but not really what we expect or what he probably expected. His power numbers are way down, and besides the home runs, he's not hitting the ball in the gap like he used to. His doubles are way down from his first 2 years playing, so I'm sure he wants to, like just as much as we want him to. He's going to need to pick it up along with the other guys that we signed. For me, besides our pitching, I'm one that hasn't been as high on our bullpen, but they've surprised me at times with all the injuries and have really helped out. But I still think that's a major factor that needs to be addressed here at the trade deadline to help these guys out. They get ran really hard. They get put in tight games. Every game is a high leverage game for them, so I'd like to see them get some reinforcements coming out here. As Stanek has been up and down, but has also, in my opinion, been good that he did get picked up. He's been all the way as high up as in the closer role. For me, I'd like to see him maybe in the seventh inning type of guy. I know we got Santos coming back, hopefully. Brash is down. So, like I said, I'd like to get another guy at least to kind of bridge between Santos and Stanek and all the way to Munoz. I think it'll help out this club tremendously if we were able to find another high leverage dominant type of pitcher out of the pen.
Yeah, and just speaking of Santos, through the BP the other day, and everybody was I know that the talk, if you're just like clicking things like impressed with BP pitching BP to the Mariners. Well, I think anybody would be probably impressive pitching to the Mariners, but just having a little fun there, guys. Don't worry. But you know, you do bring back Spire, and if you do bring back Santos and they are healthy, that's huge. Maybe that lessens that you got to go out and get somebody.
True.
I still think you do. More the merrier. Look at all these teams that always are perennial playoff teams and World Series people like the Astros, or back in the day, or whenever the Yankees, the Dodgers. They're not afraid to just stockpile people and just the pitchers become specialists. That they have 4, 5, 6 high leverage guys. Everybody's like half of the lineup's a platoon with guys that could be perennial all-stars. That's what we'd love to see. Sure. Probably not going to happen, being realistic, but back to the offensive side. Again, right here, if you're watching this on YouTube, I just pulled up the part here where Jude says that their 27.5 strikeout rate is on pace to shatter the all-time record. And what makes me laugh is there were players that we traded or passed on, Teo Hernandez especially, because they wanted to get away from the strikeout. So that is a failure here in the first half. I also feel like we do have players like Garver and Polanco that little to nothing. We've seen Garver heat up, but still the guy's hitting 175. And you also have Cal Raleigh. I know he's huge in these moments, and I know he's huge clutch. I know he's great behind the dish, but you got 2 catchers now on this team, and we don't have Zebi Zavala, don't care. But you got 3 guys. Somebody's got to not have the batting average of a Mike Zunino. I'm sorry. You got to do shit in between. I'd like to see Cal's average be somewhere around at least 215 to 225, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a very hard thing for both those guys to get their averages to climb. They're going to have to get really hot. Cal, the way he gets beat up back there, all the attention he does to the pitching and keeps those guys in line, I give him a little bit more of a pass. But you're right. He needs to be better. He's very clutch. He can hit the long ball, but he really hasn't ever hit for an average, at least through the start of his career. But yeah, being at 200 or below is not going to cut it, and will help out this team so much if he gets going. And then Garver, as you mentioned, he's shown that he is maybe heating up a little bit. That's good to see. And then the Zavala thing with him released, I read that he cleared waivers and now is back down in Tacoma.
Yeah, that doesn't move the needle for me. I didn't
So
think
do you think we should go out and get a catcher?
No. I'm at Zavala coming back. I did see that news. But no. I I just I just want to see more production in between those big moments. And yeah, Garver has heated up, but then he's heated back down. Yeah, their averages aren't. I'm not asking these guys to hit me 230, 240 hitters, but if they end the season at 210, 220 in between there, that means that they've probably hit like 270 the rest of the year. And I would like to see them pick up. Cal's just having a tough time on the right side, it seems like. I feel like the pop's there, but but again, he's having to play every single day. I think you are seeing just the wear and tear on him like you would with a pitcher. As far as Julio, yeah, 7 home runs. Not a lot of RBIs. Not that it matters, but he's not going to be on the I would assume not on the All-Star team. I don't think he ranks in the top 10 in outfielders right now, maybe even not in the top 20.
Yeah, I wish I wrote it down, but I read with Julio, and like I mentioned, his extra base hits, he is so far down behind from what his career average, and what he's done the last couple of years is, yeah, his power numbers are down, but his doubles are down just as much, if not worse, and that's just him, fishing, chasing, not swinging at the right pitches. He just hasn't looked that comfortable this year up at the plate to me.
So here's one of the. I'll start rolling in some of these comments. We got a lot of them here tonight. This one though, Y2KHA, Y2K Ha. I think he or she or they have commented before on here. And let's get into some positives. And Rayleigh up 123 WRC plus, Canzone up 120. Hey, big second halves of the seasons from these guys if they're doing what they've been doing this week or what Rayleigh's been doing just all around. It's been the biggest delight, definitely in the outfield that we've had this season. What do you think about these guys, and what could you see from them going forward here in the second half?
Yeah, absolutely love what Rayleigh's been doing. Love everything about him. He can go pick it on D. Made a great catch in center field. Haven't really seen out there. The hitting's been amazing. I did see that stat before. Canzone I like. He's got some pop, but for me, Canzone out of the two is not as consistent as Rayleigh has been. But the Mariners seem to not want to throw him out there every day, and they definitely keep him away from a left-hander because he hasn't been very successful against him. So he hasn't really gotten into a good rhythm, in my opinion. But two guys that, hopefully they can both be at where Raleigh has been here lately. He's been absolutely everything you've wanted from an outfielder.
Yeah, the tough thing with those two guys is what happens when there's a left-hander on the mound, right? They're both left-handed dudes. So that's the thing about those guys. If they could start hitting left-handed pitching even better, that'd be great. I mean, that's a big ask, especially in today's baseball. Well, we got a rough one right here. J-Rod is just a name, nothing more. Should be Mr. Mariner Bust. That's a bit much. I think Mr. Mariner Bust is already Dustin Ackley's Mr. Mariner Bust. I think that he already has that nickname. And as far as we've talked about it, they got to make a move. We're going to dedicate more time to that. But on this, or in, I should say, in this article, Divish and Jude, you guys should go check it out. They're talking about some moves that the Mariners possibly could make. But again, the thing about it is, I know that right now it's going to cost a lot. Sometimes most times there's more of a tax, right? Mid-season, because it's just business. But the thing is, the Mariners don't ever spend any money, actual money. I shouldn't say they don't. Right now they're not going to, but they can spend more with the equity they have. They can. That's there. I don't feel like they have such a I don't feel like the ownership is going to be against spending prospects. I think that's more of an organizational thing more than the ownership thing. That's kind of a thought I have. What do you think about that? Am I wrong?
I agree. The M's do not seem to spend in free agency. So if you want to acquire players, you're right. You have to do it at the deadline and via trades, and especially at the trade deadline, like you mentioned, there's an extra tax on it. It seems like. But then on the other part, the Mariners always talk about their farm system and how they're build it up, and it's one of the best farm systems, and have this ongoing consistency of a team, year after year. So some of it, well, the way it talk to me is kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They kind of talk around in circles, but to help this team out in the way that they've shown them, I sure hope they make a move here at the deadline. Hopefully a successful one, obviously, but a move that will, get the guys fired up and hopefully take them to that next level. Because, like we've talked about, the Mariners are a good team, but they're not near the Yankees, the Orioles yet. Those upper tier teams that we've talked about, to hopefully get them to the World Series, because that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. And going and getting to that goal is going to obviously take some additions to this team, because right now, you've seen what they've done against Baltimore so far. Sure, they split it with the Yankees, but come on, that one game was a fucking miracle, right? You've seen they've lost the series, the season series with Cleveland.
Yeah.
So far, they're 3-4 against Minnesota. I know Minnesota's coming to town, but man, all these people that are going to be there at the dance outside of the AL West, you've not done well against them. You just haven't. Yeah, and these are the teams that you're going to be playing if you make it there, which you should. But also, the AL West is one thing, but again, I'll keep talking about it. Mariners got to get that, at least that second seed. I feel like that should be the big goal. That's the thing I'm watching. I'm feeling like the Mariners are chasing Cleveland right now, and you're fending off Kansas City. Kansas City, another team that just looked better when we were playing them. But I just wanted to go back to this article really quick here, a little tidbit from it, when you were talking about what their greatest needs were. And Divish says the Mariners should really add another reliever along the lines with Hanno here. Late game experience with the ability to generate swings and misses. It's a market that should have a great supply of impact talent as compared to the position player market. Totally agree. Mariners seem destined to play in games decided by 2 or fewer runs on most nights. I can agree to that. Adding an additional reliever to this to supplement the bullpen would be ideal for the final months of the season and postseason. Okay. Now going down to Jude, looks like he took the offensive path here. The Mariners will try. You see how he writes try? It's italicized, to be aggressive leading up to the deadline. That's a hard italics right there. That's how Jerry and Dipoto roll, or Jerry and Hollander roll. But I'm looking through this article, and like right away, my eyes attract to one word right there: Luis Robert Jr. This might end up being the only true middle of the order hitter on the trading block. Things are so tight in the NL wild card that it's difficult to see the Mets parting with. Yeah, the Mets resurgence. You might not have that Pete Alonso rental situation going on anymore. And are the Blue Jays really going to trade Vladdy Guerrero Jr.? Like he says here, seems unlikely. Robert would come at a high cost. 2 top 100 prospects plus at least one more secondary piece. But like he says right here, he is worth it. And I agree. I think you said it best, when we were talking about T-Mobile Park, and you said T-Mobile Park, whatever, means absolutely nothing to that guy. I mean, this would be the 1A guy. And you know what? The Phillies are going to be after him. You see injuries on teams like Dodgers. You got to pray for no injuries to like teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees, any of these front running teams that are known to spend money. You don't want injuries anyways, right? Nobody wants to wish an injury on a player, but it sucks when somebody goes down like Mookie Betts and they're just like, all right, you know what? We'll just go get Luis Robert. You know what I mean? That's kind of how those teams kind of roll. So that's also affecting what the fuck's going on.
Oh, absolutely. And each team giving their trade scenario to them, and the White Sox playing each team against each other. I mean, it could drive the price up quite a bit. I mean, for me, the only kind of hesitancy has been that he's been injured, but on the other hand, he has a few years left, so you would have him for a few years, and the Mariners have really never made that kind of uncomfortable chance of going out and doing something risky, and I'd like to see it. And you talked about injuries. God forbid any of the Mariners players get injured. They're really behind the eight ball then, compared to the Dodgers and teams like you were mentioning in the Phillies. So I mean, it's a risk reward type of deal, but man, it would excite the team, the fan base, and this is the best we've looked in many years, being in first place. Hopefully wasn't winning our first division title in many, many years. So it would just be exciting knowing that the front office is on board too, because they have kind of shown that they have not been willing to go out and spend that extra money or go and get that proven star to put you over the top. They've made trades to get Castillo to help build a couple years ago. They've signed Julio to a massive contract, but those were great pieces to get you started. We need a guy to put us over the finish line and try to finish this rebuild that they've been talking about for years and really knock it out of the park and give us a chance to actually get to the World Series.
Yeah, and you said it right there. They signed Julio to get us over the top, and not to sit here and knock on Julio. And I know he had that hot streak last year, but we really haven't seen that same Julio that we saw, feel like, in 2022, or where you think he was going to be right now. And right now, that's not a knock on him, that he's still young and bright future. And I know that's going to happen, but right now they need to add somebody like Robert. He's got more experience. You want somebody that's just, like you said, just a proven dog. Listen to this right here. I'll pull this last thing I got to say about it. Career OPS of 824. Higher than anybody on the Mariners roster. But I like this. Side note, if you're obsessing over Robert's batting average season, stop it. You're wasting your time. He's a career 275 hitter. Yeah, he's not even 100 at bats right now. And he's got more home runs than most of the Mariners. Let's start right there. And if you want to get worked up over a small sample data, check out his 393 average, 952 OPS, and 31 plate appearances in playoffs.
Yeah, awesome. And one more point that you jogged my memory is a player like that can help Julio tremendously, as a possibility to give him some protection. A player like that he has never around him in the lineup.
Yeah, you need to protect this guy. Or not even protect him, just give him another. We don't have another star. You look around at the Yankees, multiple stars, sure, bad comparison. Dodgers, another bad comparison. But you go around to these top teams, there's Batman and Robin throughout, and we don't have that.
Yeah, and I mean, me personally, if I'm facing Julio, I look at the Mariners lineup, and he's struggling a little bit, but you can kind of try to pitch around him, try to get him to chase, not really throw him a strike. He's a very aggressive type hitter, and it's kind of being used against him. If you get a player like a Roberts or someone of that quality hitting right behind him, that will change your mindset as a pitcher too, so you got to throw him a strike. You can't just kind of pitch around him. I just think it would benefit, besides the Mariners getting a player, hopefully benefit Julio as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, like you said, that's going to be and has been your top storyline all season, is what is going to happen on July 30th. But the good feelings, or the good news, I should say, about that is the Mariners are definite buyers. The last 2 seasons, 3 seasons, I guess, yes. And let's not forget, I do want to commend them on when they got Luis Castillo. Impact trade, right? That's what we're looking for, but on the other side of the ball.
Absolutely. I mean, it helped the pitching staff tremendously. Brought in a veteran like him, someone that has done it before with our young pitching staff. Let's do it for now. The hitters, get another guy in there to help out our, our team and the young hitter in Julio.
Exactly. Well, we're running out of time here. We do have some comments. I do want to shout out to the who's this guy? Jesse Rude. He's pretty rude. Maybe this is his thing. Let's see. On the last episode, he says, "Holy crap, that guy in this video is an idiot. Nobody is saying or thinking that the season's over." This guy, Jesse, if you're listening and you're hating, it's called sarcasm. That was in the intro. And yes, there are Mariners fans freaking out. That Mariners fans are notorious for this. I think most sports fans are. When you're yelling at Scott Service and the organization for polling Logan Gilbert not to get the complete game, and that is going to affect whether he makes the Hall of Fame or not. That's insane. That's the kind of shit that these people are saying on there. So that was the reference of why we were talking about people freaking out. Mark, here, let's get to some of these. We got Arkanika 505. Lots of comments. Here's one. Oh, we're talking about Scott Service. He says, "Bring Piniella back. He would wake up to see." I think we should bring him back to do some locker room inspirational speeches. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Big Piniella fan. I mean, Scott, you can take it or leave it with him, but Lou, I don't know if he has the fire still now at his age, but I've always liked Lou as a manager.
No. Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. We got some more stuff from. He's got so many of her. He or she, or they have so many of these. Mariners batters are doing. They happen to Felix when Logan pitches. Same thing. M's just can't hit. Yeah, it is weird how it is a Mariners thing where like once a year there's one pitch. Well, it was Felix for years, but yeah, where the Mariners just for some reason don't hit. It happens a lot in baseball too, not just Mariners. It's a funky thing that happens, and you definitely gotta believe in the baseball gods and the ghosts when you even see the bad stuff.
Yeah, you're right. One pitcher always seems to get snake bitten per year.
We see ex-Mariners that are still with the LA Dodgers are so much better off today. Yeah, I mean, hard to argue when you're in a lineup where you're protected with Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Betts and whoever else is on the NL starting all-star team. Yep, and Rangers are catching up. Man, we got Rangers are catching up. They are. I mean, look, as far as them shrinking the 10-game lead, this isn't the 2001 season. Yeah, you don't really see that. You hadn't seen a lead that big since then. As long as they're like 6, 7, 5 games, I'm not too worried because that takes a whole week. Or when you have more than a series worth of games to catch up, where the Rangers last time they came in here, they could have made a dent on the Mariners and pulled within 2.5 games if everything went their way. Well, everything went the Mariners' way, and they ended up being 8.5 or 8.5 games up when they left town. So, but yeah, I mean, if the Mariners are going to be this successful again in the second half of games against the AL West, they're going to be totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, we know going into this year that the Mariners would stumble. Every team does. The Braves have stumbled this year. Hopefully this is the Mariners' time of stumbling. Hopefully it doesn't get any worse. I don't want to get to pucker time and we only got a 1-game lead, but that's why they play 162. It's a roller coaster of a season. That's why us as fans sometimes get worked up over things like someone else won't get worked up. But yeah, it's going to be a good second half. I mean, we got a good schedule coming up, and hopefully we continue to pitch well, and the hitting keeps up with the summer temperature. That's what we can hope for. And we add.
Yeah, and exactly. And you already know that this is going to happen all year. Like we got again the 2 World Series champions that have good players that have had health issues, that have money to spend. You know they're going to make a run at you. And when I'm complaining, or when we talk about how they play against New York and how they play against Cleveland, and that's just like I like it that they have been beaten by them. Not that we lost the games, but you go, oh, okay, you don't have this false imposter syndrome. You go, all right, we got to be better if we're going to be competing with the la creme de the league. And you're getting to see that early on to go, okay, you end up playing all these guys in August and September, and this happens, and you're like, well, fuck, what are we going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a new territory for the Mariners, being the ones that are being chased instead of trying to chase these teams ahead of us. So it's a different scenario. And, they've done a really good job this first half of just taking one game at a time. I think they're going to do that again here in the second half. I mean, we knew teams that were down in Texas were injured, not playing well, and they've got their guys back. So, I mean, they're going to want to play well as well. So, I mean, the Mariners, they know what they need to do, and they're trying, but we'll see. As Mariner fans, you know how it goes. We always kind of worry about things.
Yeah, we just got another comment. And they continue to sell us the smoke screen dream. That's a good one. The smoke screen dream. I have not heard. And then here's another one. Please end the happy dance, please. Things aren't not so happy. I don't know. Well, that's...
You're in first
I don't
place,
care what
so
they do, as long as they...
what more do you want?
Yeah, as long as they get the W, I don't care if they whip out a slip and slide and go, across the field on it. That might be a bit much, but anyways, we're going into Tampa Bay. We didn't do much of a preview, but we're actually over our time. But we got lots of. This is probably one of the more steady crowds we've had since we started doing one of these. So thanks, guys, for liking, subscribing. We're gonna try to do these more often. Sometimes we just can't get around to doing it live. Or whatever, but we're trying to get these out every Sunday. Next Sunday, though, might be a travel day for me, so we'll see how that works out. But again, thanks for liking, subscribing. Okay, this one is good. I know this person's lighting us up, but ever since Buhner Buzz Cut night, the Mariners have stunk. Oh man. Well, I know. Don't these people started about not talking about the old stuff. Like I've said before, if you have a team that sucks, the organization isn't doing anything, and you're trying to bring out all this stuff, it's just a bad football team that hasn't been in the playoff for 20 years, and you bring something back and they reenact a touchdown, during halftime. Yeah, the Mariners are playing. Compare 2001 or the 90s. The players, the organization, everybody else is happy. Be happy. Be happy. They're passing the baton when they do this from success to success. Right, Hannah?
Yep, right. You're right.
Again, thanks for liking, subscribing. We will be back this Wednesday. I believe it's going to be early one, so CJ might be coming out of the bullpen for Hannah. We'll see. If not, we'll be back next Sunday. And with that being said, Hannah, you know what time it is. Charge. End stream, and everybody else relax, Mariners. Be all right. Damn. Yeah, we had like